Hi, it's Andy Busch, Economist, and moving my clients from chaos to confidence so that they can make better decisions. And we're staying on this theme this week on energy for a good reason. You probably saw this headline come out. We're on Bloomberg's page, which is a great page for news and information. And you can see the headline there of the U.S. airstrike. That's a really big deal when it comes to the commodity markets. And I'm going to jump over to those markets really quickly to show you where we're at as far as energy. You can see here on an overview, all of these are up, but the real big story clearly is on energy. And if you click on the West Texas Intermediate, you can see right here you had a huge move overnight as that news came out. Now, to me, as a narrative economist, I think it's really interesting to provide some context of why it had such a big jump. This is the 1 month. You can see that it's been up for a while, West Texas Intermediate, the price. And then if you go out a year, you can see it's also been rallying, getting back up near the highs of May. Now, that's important because if this story had broke when the price was lower, like way lower, say down in the 40s, I think it wouldn't have had much of an impact. But what's happened is that we've had a lot of stories come out recently about what's going on in the space of energy. And one of them was from the Wall Street Journal talking about how energy prices, because they've been low for some time, and fracking hasn't produced the results that people thought they were going to as far as profits, that a lot of banks are starting to write down their debt to these entities, to these smaller fracking companies and larger fracking companies as well. As a matter of fact, some of the larger oil companies have written down quite a bit of their investments recently. So why do I talk about that? Because if we're seeing a bunch of stories like this come out, talking about lack of capital flowing towards that area and that potentially that could impact production, well, that adds to the narrative or the story that's building about how there's going to be less production. And if we have a situation where we have a war in the Middle East, well, then that curtails production even more. So that would lead the prices to go higher, right? And so that's what we've seen. So one of the things I want to point out, since we've been talking about this all week long, I'm going to jump over to andrewbusch.com to my website and show you where the research page is, because this is where we've housed so many of the articles that we put out recently. And on this page, you can see, I'm going to scroll down a little bit, you can see all the different articles that we put out on trade, agriculture, economic shift of all the different candidates. But it's this one that I just want to take a minute to scroll through and get back to this theme that we're talking about, which is energy. These articles that I've created are not small articles. They're longer research pieces. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of them because some people were giving me a hard time this week, and rightfully so, if they thought that I was supporting any candidates' plans for energy and the environment. What I've been supportive of course, is battery technology. That's my big thing. But I just want to say, go to the summary and take a look at what this would mean. Here's one of the key phrases in here. As stated in the Warren research, the Green New Deal, which many of these candidates are in favor of, would create significant changes to energy production and usage in the United States with significant costs coming alongside. Now, what I also want to point out is that these candidates, a lot of them have said that they want to ban fracking, right? So if you throw that into the mix of what we're seeing today and the attack and the articles on less capital flowing into fracking, now you begin to get the bigger picture of the story that's developing about energy as we're heading into 2020. If we see candidates begin to emerge that are the leaders in the Democrat primary, and if those candidates support banning fracking, which they do, then I think what we're going to see is, as we watch them evolve, if they go on in the polling to begin to pull ahead of President Trump, well, then that's going to lead the story or the narrative in energy to develop even more momentum to the upside, because you could potentially take away a huge amount of production if you ban fracking. All right, it's a long-winded story this morning on energy, but it's Friday after New Year's. I'm sure you got a little bit of time on your hands to check this out. I'm Andy Busch, moving my clients from chaos to confidence, an economist who's pointing out some interesting stories in the energy space.